Hello again. So part two of my video, or for the pedantic among us, actually my second video. So how do we apply contemplative prayer to our lives? I'm going to try to show you how, and I say try because, as I admitted last week, I only learned of contemplative prayer 13 months ago. But I also told you last week that I've been practicing it for at least 20 years, just didn't realize that it is contemplative prayer. And it's not important that I have a name for this thing, but you have to understand that the name is a concept. The name means something. You could say, hey, did you see Mark's latest video? And if you don't know who Mark is, it's just a name. You might have an image of what Mark looks like, and then when you finally see a picture or a video still of mine, you then can put a face to the name, but you still don't know who Mark is. People that know Mark, they know my, speaking of myself in the third person, people who know me, when they think of Mark, they can instantly think of my trials, my tribulations, my triumphs. They think of my beliefs. They think of the way I express myself, the way I speak, the things that I like to do. I like to bicycle. I like to play guitar. I like to play drums. They know all this about me. They know I'm a spiritual seeker. So contemplative prayer rightfully has its focus on an entire concept. And if I may, this concept is not a recipe. It's not a strategy. It might be an approach. I guess I'm being pedantic right now. What it is a level of consciousness, a higher level of consciousness. It is a connection with everybody and everything in the moment. And since moment is really vaguely defined, the moment can stretch as long as we are able to stretch it. Let me tell you how I first discovered contemplative prayer. So, I told you that I was in the community of Blue Mountain Lake in the Adirondack Mountains. I go there now once a year to the Adirondacks, sometimes twice a year. Just love this place. And I originally went there because an old neighbor of mine, Cami Bruno, told me to go. I was looking for a great place for fall foliage, and she told me of the Adirondacks, and oh my goodness, is she right. It's just the best place for fall foliage that I have ever seen. So this was the first time I was there. I have some really good friends in the Adirondacks now, including one person in Blue Mountain Lake, but this was before I had those friendships. I believe this was my first time there. So I'm at the lake, beautiful, surrounded by mountains, surrounded by countryside. There are houses and there's a museum there that's 2 stories high, but that's as high as they get. Just this really beautiful, bucolic, pastoral setting. And I'm at the lake, and I felt this compulsion to dip my hands, well, first one hand, into the lake. And when I did, I felt this connection. I felt as if the lake was calling me to it. Not to immerse myself in it. As if you would say, hey Mark, hey, how you doing? Hey, can we talk? That kind of thing. I felt like the lake was communicating to me. And I felt the compulsion to put my hand in up to beyond my wrist. For some reason, there was more of a connection in the wrist, in my fingertips and in my wrist. And then the second hand. And I realized that the longer that I did this, the more I was able to feel a connection with everything that the lake touched. So there was, and everything that touched the lake. So there was the water, there were the fish, there was the sunlight, there was the sand or the mud, the bottom of the lake, the motion I began to feel the motion of the waves. I could feel the movement of the waves. I could feel as if I was the wave moving across the lake and then moving across the surface. The fish caught in the movement of the water, the sunlight beating on the water, the sunlight moving on the movement of the wave. And the longer I did this, I could imagine the shore. I could imagine the roots of the trees delving into the sand and drinking of the lake water. I could imagine the sun. It's like I was traveling on the air and the sunlight, and I was aware of the atmosphere and the layers of atmosphere, and eventually the sun itself. Eventually, I could feel the power of God. Eventually, I could feel His breath. Eventually, I could feel His touch. Now, I use the word imagined, and I'm saying this because imagination is crucial to understanding the divine and understanding each other. And just to communicate with you, I have to imagine how the best way that I can do this for myself. So, and imagination also means that this is my perception, and it might not be another person's perception. And so maybe there's a little bit of artistic license here. Maybe a little bit of poetic license. Maybe this is stuff that I am actually creating in my own mind. But as far as the actual connection, that's real. I'd say that I can feel that I know what it's like to be the wave, to be the fish, to be the bear that is lapping from the water on the other side of the lake. That I can be the bear's tongue and the teeth and the water going down the bear's gullet. Maybe that is a flight of fancy, but the connection itself, the connection is real. And everything that I just described to you about the bear and touching God and the sun, I didn't get that on the first time I was there. I mean, I've been developing this over the years. And the first time I did it, I just had this compulsion to stay there as long as possible. I don't know how long I was there. I may have been there as long as half an hour. And I kept trying to pull myself away, and then I would go back to the water again. So these are things that I've been developing over the years. The contemplation is an awareness, and the awareness, I'm looking at the time, the awareness is what gives us strength. We have this strength within us. We have this grace within us. We have this spark of the divine within us. We do touch God, and God is there constantly saying, "Here I am. Here I am. Take my hand. Listen to my word." And so often we decline this invitation. And I'm telling you that when we do it, that will bring a peace and purpose and clarity. And because we are a communal people, because none of us can exist in a vacuum, that means that we also have to seek out the peace and purpose and clarity of others to help us understand ourselves. And we can help them to understand themselves. But contemplative prayer, contemplation, is essential for spiritual health, essential for mental and emotional health. And that will be the guide, that will be the pathway toward physical health, so that those 4 dimensions of our human bodies, of our humanity, more than just our bodies, those 4 dimensions of our humanity will reach its pinnacle day by day. It is a glorious thing. Since that time, I've learned that even by coming close to somebody, not actually touching them, but actually coming close, I can feel this energy, this field of energy that is emanating from them. And we have a field of energy that emanates from us. But I'm telling you, it's more than physical. It is actually spiritual. It is the contemplation. It is being in the moment, realizing that you're seeking by not actively seeking. You're seeking by being aware. And that connection is glorious. So I'm not going to go on further. I've already gone on a long time. Peace. 4 fingers. And I will talk to you very soon. Be good to yourselves.